Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Stories of Resilience, where we share real life toughest challenges and how we overcome them. Today, we have our special guest, Jackline, who is going to share with us her depression journey and how she managed to overcome it. Welcome, Sharon.
Thank you for having me, Pam.
Jackline, can you start by telling us when you first started experiencing signs and symptoms of depression?
Okay, I think it was like 4 years ago, but at first I did not know it was depression. At first I was just moody, down, wanted to be alone, constantly crying, feeling so overwhelmed with my feelings. So I did not know it was depression, but I later came to find out that it was depression, and those were the first symptoms.
Okay, so what were the first steps you took to your diagnosis?
Okay, I think so. When I decided I had had enough, so I called a friend and I was telling her about how I'm constantly feeling down. I am so moody, and she was like, "Okay, me, I experienced the same thing, and I think it is depression." So, from talking to my friend, that's when I knew it was depression.
Mm-hmm.
So the first steps that I took was like seek medical help. So I went to a physician, and I was diagnosed with clinical depression.
Okay, and what exactly led you to depression, or what caused you to go through that path of depression?
So I see it was 4 years ago, and I was just about to join campus and had applied, and when the results were in for university selection, I think that was just it was a ticking time bomb. Like, even before the results, I was just so constantly worried. What am I going to do in campus? What course am I going to do it? And then at that time I was called to do like education, and I did not want that. I wanted to do law. So I think that was the main reason why I was so depressed, because I did not want to do that course. Yeah.
And so you said that you went to seek help from a friend, and she referred you to a doctor. So I assume the doctor suggested something for you, maybe like therapy or medication?
Yes. The doctor listened to me, and he diagnosed me with clinical depression, as I said. And so the first step was like to recommend me to a therapist to help me, and then the therapist, and then he also gave me medication to like stabilize my moods, and the therapist was just to give me a safe space. Yeah.
And did your parents support you in any way, or were they aware that you are depressed? Probably your family or your friends, did they know what you were going through?
So the first signs of depression was like I wanted to be alone. So definitely nobody around me knew that I was depressed. I don't think my parents knew until I was like diagnosed. Yes. So when they knew that I was diagnosed with clinical depression, they were like so supportive. They even paid for my therapist, for my medication, and they were like the constant support system that I needed outside therapy. Yeah, and my friends too. So I was telling them that, I was depressed and now I'm going through therapy, and they was like, okay. So they were just like the constant support system that I had, but my parents especially, yes.
So going back a little, you said that your parents didn't know that you were depressed until you were diagnosed.
Yes.
So why did you keep it from them? Why didn't you discuss with them what you were going through?
I felt like they were like, walikuwa wanachangia my depression. Like, already, the moment I was called to do education, they were like, go do that course. So like, there were no help to me. So walikuwa ni kama wanaichangia to my depression. Until I constantly wanted to be alone. I did not want to talk to them. I would wake up, do my chores, and rudi kwa bedroom. Yeah. So they had no idea that I was depressed. Yes.
And how important was the support system from your parents after you were diagnosed? Because you said they were there and they paid for your therapy, and your friends, you said you talked to them. How important was that?
That was so important. It was the big part of my recovery. Let me tell you, you don't know you're depressed until you are like really depressed. And depression is not something that you can just snap out of. It's something that it's a process, step by step, you go step by step. So them constantly being there, reminding me that all is going to be okay, was like a really big help to me and to my journey. So my parents, they were like constantly telling me, how is they going? So I feel like they were like building up the staircase to recovery. And it doesn't matter, even if you don't have your parents or your constant support system, if you really are determined to like get out of it, I still feel like you can get out of it.
So in short, you mean you can avoid depression?
You can avoid depression, but you really need to be vigilant to be able to avoid depression, because you don't know when it eats you. It can eat you at any time, at anything. Even the smallest trigger can really lead to depression.
Okay. And during your recovery journey, you went for therapy, you got medications, but did you join any support groups from people you don't know maybe?
Yes, I joined a support group, and apart from just speaking with a therapist, the support group was one of the best decisions that I've ever made, because being around people who understood what depression was and how it felt to be depressed was really helpful in my recovery.
And during those group meetings, does it always feel free to share about your problems?
Yes, there's no judgment there, because everyone there is battling depression. So you understand the different triggers, the different outcomes, and how different people can be depressed. And it is really helpful to find a support group of people who are like battling the same thing that you are, and it constantly reminds you that you are not alone and you're not the only one fighting this thing.
True. So what lifestyle changes did you make that contributed to your recovery?
The first lifestyle change that I made was prioritizing self-care. That was like one of the best things that I've ever done to myself. And setting clear boundaries, letting no means no. Also, I prioritized going to the gym, which was so helpful to boost my energy and also my moods. So I was constantly feeling happier, and my mood swings were like slowly fading because of.
So Jacqueline, did you pick up any new hobbies that contributed to your recovery?
Yes, I picked up new hobbies. I started practicing mindfulness in my eating, in my walking, in my talking with others, and I also started crocheting, which was like really helpful because it was really therapeutic to me, and I turned it into a business which is like booming right now.
Okay, that's really wonderful.
Thank you.
Okay, reflecting on your journey, what was the hardest part or the most challenging part about the whole journey of recovering from depression?
I think the most challenging part was accepting that I was sick and seeking the help that I needed, because I did not want to accept that I was depressed and I needed help. I wanted to think that this was just moods and it will go away. A rough patch, yeah. But I realized that I was depressed, and the moment that I went to get the help that I needed is when things started getting better, and I started to understand that, okay, this is depression and it's not a bad thing. It is something that someone can overcome. Yes.
That's really wonderful. So what advice would you give to someone who is currently struggling with depression, trying to overcome depression?
The advice that I would give to someone who's currently battling depression is you're not alone. Thousands, hundreds of people are battling depression out here, and if you really need to speak to someone, do that. Get help, do that. Depression is something that will hit you and you don't know you are depressed. So have a constant support system, get out there, yeah, and just know that you're not alone.
As we wrap up, I would like to thank you so much, Jacqueline, for coming to our show. Your story has been truly inspiring, and I know that so many of you have taken something from that and it has inspired you. And if you're fighting depression, you are going to find the help that you need. Thank you so much, Jacqueline, for coming.
Thank you so much, Pamela, for having me. And I hope my story was insightful. I hope it was helpful, and know that you're not alone. The best is still ahead, and you can really get out of depression. It's not the end of the world because you're depressed.
Thank you so much. That's all for today's episode, Stories of Resilience, with our guest Jackline, and I hope you have been inspired as we wait for the next episode. I hope that you will be with us. Thank you so much. I was your host, Pamela Robert.